Hi everybody, it's Rob Brown here with, believe it or not, the 23rd in a series of 24 panels we are doing with the leaders of global accounting networks and associations. We have an amazing panel today of leaders of leaders. I'm going to get them to introduce themselves in just a moment, but we are in crazy times. We've not known anything like this, and the accounting profession sits in the middle, if you like. They are being called the emergency services for business. They are the ones that are helping keep things going as trusted advisors. And the people we have on with us today, they are supporting those accountants because, goodness me, they need support at the moment. So let's start with a little introduction. Anton, can I start with you and to let us know who you are and who you represent? Thank you.
So, thanks, Rob. I'm Anton Colella, and I'm the CEO of Moore Global.
That was so succinct. Anything else you want to say about Moore Global, or are we done there?
Well, I mean, many know Moore Global. We're in 120 countries. We're 30,000 people, and it used to be called Moore Stevens until a year ago.
Okay. Do you feel better for getting that out now? Now we know a bit about it. Michael, please, an introduction, sir.
Yes, hello, Rob. Hello, everybody. Wonderful to be back again. Michael Rice von Filske. I'm the global CEO of GGI, which is a multidisciplinary association of accounting firms, law firms, and consulting firms. We count about 30,000 people, $5.63 billion US combined fee income, present in 126 countries. And that's it.
Well, just to reiterate, this is not a size competition or anything else, because we are all serving the accounting market in one way or another. Michelle, lovely to have you with us. A little introduction, please.
Thank you, Rob. I'm Michelle Arnold. I'm the North American Executive Director for Prime Global. I've been with Prime Global about 8 years, and we've gotten quite a diverse group of firms, but all small, medium, and large here. And before this, I actually have a unique background that I was a sponsor at Accounting Association conferences, representing research and development and cost segregation. So I've been to many other association conferences in my career, which is kind of interesting.
It is. Okay, well, it's great to have you with us. And Catherine, welcome from Germany.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much also for inviting me. It's a big honor to be here for the first time. So my name is Anne-Kathrin Steinröder. I am representing the ETL Global Network. And being a tax professional myself, I bring along about 20 years of experience in international tax. ETL Global has only very recently appeared on the scene, so maybe not everybody is familiar with us. We are basically originating from a German group, the ETL group, which not many people know by now, but it's been there for 40 years and, has a couple of hundred tax and accounting firms in Germany, about 10,000 people, about 900 million turnover. And besides that, we are working very hard on our international network to serve our clients abroad as well, focusing on the one hand on our direct investments in 7 countries in Europe, but as well on contractual cooperation partners throughout the world.
Well, it is lovely to have you with us. Thank you for that. Chris Robinson, another one with a tie on. Is it because you're actually an accountant, Chris? Is that you just showing off?
No, I'm just showing off. My background is actually in sales, marketing, and project management. I've been involved in the profession in business development roles for about 10 years, in networks and associations for about 5, with Allineal Global for the last 3. Allineal Global is a worldwide association of accounting and consulting firms. We're around 235 members worldwide, 32,000 people, global fee income just over $4 billion US. So quite a sizable player, ranked 2nd largest association by the IAB.
Okay, well, great to have you all with us. And let's kick off by maybe bravely suggesting that we are through the worst of COVID. We don't know if we're in a second spike, but hopefully we're at a point where I could say to you, what have you learned so far? Personally or professionally? We've not known anything like this. These are absolutely crazy times. So having experienced the last few months, you have been the leader of leaders, and you've supported them not just commercially, financially, with insights as well. You've been counselors, therapists, psychiatrists, and all kinds of things for your members. So and let me start with you, Michael Rice von Filski. What have you learned from this, either personally or professionally?
Well, actually, I think we all learned a lot. We learned how little we need. We learned that you don't have to fly over the weekend to the Caribbean to relax, flying from Europe. We have learned, at least in GGI, we have learned what an amazing level of solidarity there is between the members to share, to continue doing business despite all difficult circumstances. And we have learned that facts are very difficult to twist and to be used for or against any political statement that is beyond facts. So I think that it has been a very harsh and difficult lesson. But then on the other hand, if we think generations before, we all had sufficient food, we all had medical care, our government supporting us and so on. So it has been, and it is still a very, very difficult crisis, but on the other hand, not as bad as, for instance, the end of World War I or the Great Depression or the end of World War II was.
Mm. Michelle, let me come to you next. Just picking up on what Michael said. He said facts are very difficult to twist. And I'm just thinking of Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, who seem to make a career out of making it very easy to twist facts. But let's leave the political side of it. What have you learned, Michelle, through all of this?
Oh, gosh. So many lessons. But professionally, with our profession, I've learned how agile the accounting profession can be. I think that took them all by surprise that we are really a nimble group.
And it's not a profession, is it, that you associate with being agile? Because accountants have done the same things in the same way for many, many years. And Anna Catherine's laughing at that one, and we'll come to her. But
it's been such a pleasant surprise. I think the firms themselves were shocked at how they switched to a virtual environment easily, quickly, really without losing a beat. So that was a wonderful learning example. And I think too that we've learned the urgency of adopting new technologies is greater than ever before. And I think firms are embracing that and kind of using COVID as an excuse. Depending on the firm and where they're at with technology, they're going after it like never before. And I think I'm also seeing a lot of firms who are saying now is the time to invest rather than hold back, even though cash is king and everybody wants to be, cash rich. I think they're learning that it is a really good time to invest, whether it's acquisitions, whether it's technology, whether it's people. A lot of positive lessons. Yeah.
Very good points. And Anton, I'm sure you've seen that accounting firms are making decisions much quicker now than they ever have been. And that points to the agility Michelle mentioned. But what have you personally or professionally learned from all of this?
I've seen unbelievable resilience in our firms, but also in our clients and society. In crisis, how well we adapt. And as a modern society, many of us don't face crises. And we're not tested that way. We may face small ones, but we've faced this all collectively. But I've been shocked at positively shocked how resilient we've been as a network and as a sector within society. But also our ability to change working practices like that. Things we said, oh no, can't do it. It'll take years. Huge investment. Oh, can't do it. Impossible. We're doing it in weeks. Things that were taking years and business plans are now taking weeks and we're getting it done. So that has challenged all my assumptions on planning and the potential of teams to do big things. So this thing about we can't do it doesn't apply anymore. I think COVID has revealed our ability to do the impossible sometimes. But I also think on a personal level as a leader, the premium of hope. The leader has to be the bearer of hope. even in the face of very difficult and tragic circumstances. And I've been developing it in me, but it's also seeing it develop in other leaders in my own executive around the network. But in it, the last part for me, which I think is so powerful, and it's something that's at the heart of the way I want to lead and the type of network we want to be, is rediscovering the profound humanity that really is the root of success. Now, you can have all the profits, you can have the biggest network, you can have the biggest number of all the top numbers. If we don't have our humanity strong within us, how really are we caring for our clients, our people, and how are we really contributing to the good of society?
Yeah, very good. Chris Robinson, we're hearing agility as well as the personal side of things, and I want to ask you your thoughts on both and what you've learned. But Anton and Michelle, they're talking about making decisions, and accountants don't have complete data, do they? There's a lot of complexity and ambiguity around. So what have you learned personally and professionally, Chris, from all of this?
Well, yeah, actually just picking up on Anton's point. I mean, I think we've learned that technology is fantastic, but I think we've also learned that there is, at the end of the day, no real substitute for proper human interaction. I mean, I think we're all desperate to get back around the table in a proper physical environment. I think, you know, for many people, you know, working from home is not necessarily an easy option. It can turn into living at the office, you know, back-to-back Zoom meetings, longer hours, and so on. So I think this drive to actually to engage at a more personal level as soon as we can, effectively, I think is very important. Absolutely, I think we've learned the primacy of health over wealth. I think that's key. The importance of family and personal networks in this sort of environment. And I think just on a larger scale, I think we've learned all around the world the importance of the interconnectivity between human health and the health of the planet. I think now is the moment where governments around the world, all of us, have got to grasp the issue around restoration of natural habitats, of growing in a green fashion. And I think business has absolutely got a key role in moving that forwards over the coming years.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Chris. Anna Catherine, what are your thoughts on this? What have you learned from all of it?
It's very similar to what Chris said, that on the one hand, both personally and professionally, I have learned to value the benefits that we have from modern telecommunication technologies. It was so helpful that basically the whole world, be it my professional workplace or at the same time my family at home, were able to continue just like this. 4 people under one roof, just doing what they always do, but on their own from their computers. But at the same time, I profoundly understood that mankind, in fact, is or consists of social beings. So the pure functioning of what we're doing every day is not enough, and it's basically the smallest parts.
Yeah,
it's much more important to have real social contacts and well, to see each other face to face, to shake hands, to basically interact personally. And the longer the lockdown took, the more important it became to keep motivation up also in our teams and to respond to each individual team member's personal needs, because everybody had his very specific individual situation. And we found it very, or the big finding, that this was the most important thing, that we basically were growing together into an even closer team at that time. And and it was the same at home with my kids.
sure.
They were just longing to see their friends and couldn't see them. So exactly the same.
It's been an interesting time, and I like to keep a tight ship on my panels, but I will open it up if you have anything else that you wanted to say. But my thinking was this just now, that we are in such a connected world with the technology, and you think what might have happened if COVID would have occurred in, say, 1990? How would we have coped with that without the technology to keep us all connected? And we are just so thankful for the Zoom and everything else that we've got. Other platforms are available, but just to keep everything going, because as you've all said, we are humans.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Rob, because think of even the connections with family, how spread out we all are now across countries and worlds, and being able to connect with a cell phone. You know, we take that so for granted. And back in '90, that was just beginning. So it's an interesting point you raise that what would it have been like? I think things might have come to more of a screeching halt universally.
Frightening. Anton, you were going to add something there?
And I was just going to say, yeah, the technology was life-changing for us compared to what it would have been, but the technology is applying both ways, as Michelle was saying. But one of the things that we early on when it happened, we had multiple Zoom accounts. I said to all the staff, you can use your Zoom account for work, for your family, because we were finding the family and life was blurring anyway during the day. Why should you change accounts? You know, I better change account for the next call with my mother-in-law, you know, or my kids, you know. We could use the same platform, and it became a real sign by allowing people to use the one platform for both of how they're so connected in this new age of technology.
Yeah.
And who, as an employer, we have to be cognizant of the human needs and the family needs of the people that we work with.
Well, you must be son-in-law of the year if you're having Zoom calls with your mother-in-law, Anton. That is super committed.
I just slipped that in.
Okay, well, let's get to grips with the big thing here: networks, associations. There is a cry for relevance. I've spoken to many accounting firms, and some are saying, "Why are we in networks? Why are we a part of this?" Particularly some of the partners that don't get it. But on the other hand, there's never been a better time to be a member of something bigger than yourself. So, Chris, let's start with you on this one. What do you think is the future for the networks? How has COVID changed things for you, and what might be coming up for you?
Well, I think fundamentally we haven't changed, but I think we do what we do a lot better and a lot more rapidly. I think that's what's changed, if anything. And as you've just alluded to, I mean, the pandemic has really very powerfully demonstrated the need for accounting firms to belong to some sort of worldwide organization, whether it's a network or an association. I mean, all of the benefits have really come to the fore in terms of the rapid access to essential information around new COVID legislation, the opportunities to collaborate and share experiences with other member firms, you know, to really appreciate that we're not alone in this. The ability, particularly now in a crisis, to be able to protect your clients in terms of not just information, but in protecting their commercial channels as well, both inbound and outbound. All of the learning and development resources that sit behind organizations like ours, you know, the buying power. At the end of the day, globalization might have stuttered, but it hasn't stopped, and it will resume. And I think, you know, now we've got a very powerful reason for being here. And you know, I understand some people might be questioning, you know, asking the question, what are we paying for? But I think the question sort of answers itself. Yeah. I'd hope it does.
Michael, what do you feel are the future for the accounting networks and associations?
Well, I think I totally agree with Chris. Business goes on. It's stifled, it's more complicated, it's more difficult, but it still goes on. And we do have transnational, multinational, binational business structures which have not changed. You have legal entities in one jurisdiction, they are operating in another jurisdiction, holding companies, supply chains, which are still very complex, so to say, IP boxes. You still need transnational audits. That hasn't changed. So the business need and the need for a trusted network of professionals that can help you out, and specifically if you cannot travel, which makes it even more complicated. So I think that all the networks in their status quo we have added a few members technically during the pandemic, but most of the members of GGI knew each other from before and bank on their trust so that they can say, well, I have this issue to be sorted. Can you do it? Because you are there. Even in some larger countries like the US, a member from the East Coast said we would have to get an opinion on that and that. Can you physically go there? Because we can't or we don't want to. So I think that the theory of believing that networks will sort of disappear and it will all go virtual. No, I think if we eventually go back to normality and we can meet again, there will be a hybrid, a combination of virtual meetings, physical meetings, to increase that connectivity amongst members.
Yeah. Anna Catherine, Michael mentioned there the word normality. We might never see that again. So what do you feel is the future for the networks and associations?
Yeah, actually, there is not much to add to what the other participants said so far, but maybe picking up the travel part, I completely agree that I think we are going to end up in a hybrid world where everybody will think twice whether he does the business trip or not. We are seeing now how many things you can actually manage remotely and through virtual meetings. Of course, there are situations, be it annual conferences or well, personal get-togethers, just to get to know each other, which are indispensable to have them in person. But I think there were a lot of people who spent far too much time on the plane, thereby spending too much time, too much money on in fact, unnecessary travel. And this will, at the same time, be a good thing also for the climate, I think. So somebody said it beforehand that the governments, well, might take, let's hope, might also take this opportunity to change a few things. And I think this is actually a very big opportunity, not only for our profession, not only for networks, but to change something about business travel. Yeah. And in the end, this will also mean a change in the future of our networks.
Thank you. And Michelle, the face-to-face conferences that Prime Global and others run, they are the flagship things, aren't they? They're the reasons why many people say they join the networks, because trust and the affiliation comes from presence and being in the room. But we know that that's changed. What do you see as coming up for the networks and associations?
It's funny, we were just talking about this as a management team. I expect our in-person events to all resume when it's safe to do so. But I do think there'll be a whole layer of hybrid participation. What we've learned is through our virtual events, which we pivoted very quickly, being remote ourselves for over a decade, nobody had any disruption on the staff. And I think what we've learned is now really getting sticky throughout all levels of the firms, and they're not going to let that go away. So we're being challenged to provide programs and tools and resources much deeper and wider than we ever have, which is really a fantastic opportunity. But there are some who won't, support that amount of travel. So I do think we'll do in person with a hybrid layer. We fully expect to do that. I also think it's interesting, all the points that were made, I really appreciate and I agree with. I think our member firms, all of us across the world, are really evaluating the return on their investment. And as Michael said, they're shopping a little bit. We've had 3 new members in North America, and I think 10 globally since COVID started. We count that as March 13th, because they're shopping and really challenging the associations about the value they're receiving.
But Michelle, are those new members coming from other networks and associations, or are they fresh into this space?
Yeah, my 3 came from other associations.
Okay.
So it's interesting, and nobody on this call, by the way. But it's really interesting because they're looking at where they are and saying, am I getting what I'm paying for, and can I receive more? So they're finding associations more valuable than ever, associations and networks. That's what we're seeing. And I think those who have been rather complacent or smaller associations perhaps might be challenged to keep their members. I think there's a lot of acquisition activity going on, and that could disrupt, or maybe there's some mergers that are going to happen in associations and networks, who knows. But I do think it's time to stay challenged.
Let's ask Anton. He knows about these things. So what's coming up for this space, Anton, in your view?
Well, networks are here to stay. I mean, they've never been more important. They've never been more valued or needed, associations as well. And let's start at the beginning. Our clients need networks. Our ambitious clients that have global aspirations, or at least transnational aspirations, need to be serviced. So there's a market. Bottom line is how well we do that. But not just our clients need it, we need it. Our managing partners need a peer group of fellow journey men and women to support them on the journey. And let's be absolutely honest, when cash is stretched, why duplicate? Why should I do something that the other guy, the other firm along the road has done it? Why can't we share what we have? It's one of the greatest values and benefits of being a network. I don't need to do everything. I don't need to depend on myself. And that wonderful sense of community is enriching. I think it enhances the life of a firm. I think it helps, inspires them. They learn from each other. They get stretched by each other. They get ambition from each other. And the other thing, the biggest challenge though in all of this is, I think the value proposition. But I think the value proposition these days is not always calculated in what we get, but the culture of the organization. We're trying to build a very strong sense of community, because sometimes if you measure it all in money, miss the boat. I think it's about giving rather than taking to make a successful network. But one of the biggest challenges for us in this is the problem in networks and associations. It tends to be purely the managing partner. It goes to the conferences, it goes to the events. If they drop off the scene, the sense of identity and community diminishes. So we're working so hard at going right down, right to the very bottom of the firm. I mean, I meet every month 300 young managers across the whole world. They're the future of the network, and the relationships they're building just now are going to sustain us for 20 years to come.
Really good thoughts. And I'm struck by the word relevance. Does what's happening now make networks and associations more relevant? Or are you fighting to remain relevant in the midst of so many other things? Any thoughts on that?
Rob, who wants to be on their own in a crisis?
Fair point. Yeah. Okay. Well, I was just leaving a pause there for anyone that wanted to come in. And so the future is rosy for networks and associations, maybe some M&A activity, but you are needed more than ever. Let's talk about the people that you serve. And Anna Catherine, I'll come to you first on this one. We know that a global recession is coming. There are challenges and opportunities facing accounting firms. So what do you think the future holds for them?
To be honest, I'm carefully optimistic about the future of our profession. I think, like in the past couple of months, all colleagues were extremely busy. And so far, it doesn't look like this is going to change in the very near future. And at the same time, from a commercial perspective, the main concern, we heard that earlier, is the cash situation, because, well, can you be sure that all the bills we are creating at the moment will be paid in the end? So anyway, I'm completely convinced that even if some clients, will go bankrupt in the end or get lost otherwise, there will be new business opportunities coming up for us. You said it yourself, I think we're in the middle of things always. And so there will be restructuring cases, there will be new regulations, new compliance obligations, or startups emerging from the crisis. So it's crucial for us to stay flexible and watch new trends in the market. And well, we're going to tackle this.
Yeah. Anton, you're very bullish about things. I can imagine you would say that there's never been a better time to be an accountant right now.
Absolutely. The world needs us. We're servants, and we serve prosperity for society. I mean, let's be absolutely honest. We serve those who are the agents of it. The world needs us. The challenge is, just because they need us doesn't mean we're guaranteed to be successful in that. And I think one of the things about the future for us, we need to get better at what we do. Our integrity needs to get more profound in our organizations, our sense of humanity and our service to society. Because there are certain perceptions associated with accountants I don't think are entirely true, but I think we've got to work hard to change it. And I think the quality of our work has to get better. I mean, the regulators are getting together. And whether you're an association or a network, they're coming for us very, very soon. Any work that is transnational, whether from an association or a network to service clients, will come under the scrutiny of the regulator. We've got to get better. And I think that's a huge opportunity. But I think for some, it will be challenging them to their very existence in their ability and their desire to change.
Chris, I'm just reading into what Anton is saying there with the quality of service. We know that compliance is becoming commoditized, downward pressure on fees, the value of what accountants provide, that historical perspective, that's gone down. So there is perhaps some reinvention, the need to add more value to what they're doing, perhaps advisory services. What do you see coming up for the accounting profession?
Well, I think like the others, I do see this as a moment for opportunity. You know,
Okay.
I think the glass is not half empty, but half full. You know, all of the themes that have been around for the last 3, 4, 5 years around automation and AI, for example, that hasn't gone away. You know, firms will lose some jobs, but on the other hand, that's going to create opportunities for more fulfilling and more valuable work for many others. I saw a survey, I think from Gartner, that said a team of 40 people could save 25,000 hours of avoidable rework annually by using AI and automated processes. Now, what does that release for a team of talented people? Huge opportunity to go out and do more valuable things, like, you know, financial planning and analysis, risk management, and so on. Big data, you know, that's another one. Cybersecurity. Let me mention, I mean, we have one member who has set up a distinct service line, which it calls disaster advisory. So, you know, business continuity planning and then business recovery. Out of a crisis, you find opportunities. So, again, like Anne-Catherine, I would be very optimistic.
Yeah.
I think there's all sorts of directions in which the profession can diversify and be of even more value than it currently is.
Sure. And Michael, Chris is talking about saving 25,000 hours through AI. What about all the commutes that accountants might not be making now in traveling to work? We have this maybe a new way of running accounting firms, new structures, new business models. What do you see as the future for firms?
Very difficult question, because I tend to believe what Anne-Catherine says. I'm moderately optimistic to a certain extent. But then again, I mean, there has been such an erosion in so many businesses, and the tourism business in Spain, for instance, is suffering very, very, very much. And you have all the corollaries that, of course, real estate suffers, and the restaurants and the little shops and the theater and so it's very difficult very difficult to make predictions on an economic level. What I see is that, yes, accounting firms, law firms, professional service firms, they are fast in adapting, because if you don't adapt, you're out of business. And that goes with all the different layers that there are, from artificial intelligence to outsourcing to working from home to saving in office space. I think that's one element where networks already before the pandemic networks and associations, of course, were very clever institutions, because you are not paying for having access to some offices in New York, and the member in Tokyo is not paying for having access to offices in London, and vice versa. So you're collaboratively building up something for the benefit of the client. So I think that the collaborative approach from servicing clients better, from being connected and using those contacts, maybe also more in a push rather than a pull way, to say, look, you are our client here in Germany. Have you ever thought of selling your products in the Czech Republic, where we have someone that we work with and we know, and maybe this person or this firm can open a couple of doors for you. So I think that the mindset is also changing. Very difficult to say what is going to happen, because there are all sorts of different scenarios. But I'm optimistic, for as long as there are skilled professionals with the ambition to work collaboratively, that there is a great hope that this will be the way forward.
Yeah, thank you. Michelle, I'm guessing that you share the optimism of the group in that it's a good time to be an accountant.
It is, and that was a great global, high level look. I'll touch on a few more granular challenges that I've been hearing from firms and that I'm reading about. Being pushed into the advisory roles, as Chris touched on, is exciting, but a lot of firms, I think, are unprepared. So that's a huge challenge to become, the trusted advisors we always claimed we were. Now we have to really put it into action. And automation is accelerating that and freeing up the time to do it. So we're being asked about a lot of training for that type of soft skills, advisory, empathetic listening kind of tools. And I also think that there's a lot of challenges with training firm leaders on managing remote teams. This is new territory for a lot of accounting firms, and they're not equipped to do that. So from a people point of view, those are two big challenges. Opportunities, of course, for firms that have no debt, acquisitions are big. I think an opportunity is to push partners into change and use COVID as an excuse for every kind of change you ever wanted to do, and say, we have to do it because of COVID. And really accelerating the value pricing discussion. I think with all the annuity services that firms want to adopt, it's time to get serious about value pricing, whatever you want to call it. But it's time to look at that. As technology takes on more and more, we have to price things differently. So those are the opportunities I see, and the challenges at a lower firm level.
Sure. I do a webinar for my clients called Leadership in Tough Times, and I said that one of the 5 skills that modern day accountants need, first, they need technical skills. And you talk about, you're all optimistic about the outlook for accountants, but they do need to step up, because the technical skills that served them last year are so much more advanced now in the complexity we're living in. They also need technology skills. We are in a technological world, and accountants that are struggling with the technology, they'll fall behind. They need great commercial skills, speaking into the complexity and ambiguity of business right now. They need great people skills. They've shown that accountants have had to be therapists, amongst other things, for their clients. And finally, good selling skills, because all the advisory and all the products and services will mean nothing if you can't sell it. So a final question on this to wrap this up, if you've got any thoughts, anyone. Are accountants able to step up into all of the opportunities you're talking about and serve properly here?
Rob, I'd love to address that quickly. I would say no. I think the trend toward hiring more non-CPAs in our firms is a testament to exactly what you just pointed out. And that trend will probably accelerate. That specialists are needed in the firms for all of those skill sets that accounting firms are now expected to offer.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
And Rob, I get your point about all the things that accountants need to do and need to do well. But we are primarily in the people business.
Yeah.
Let's be absolutely honest. And these times that we're in have forced more of us online as being kind of a digital service very often, a virtual service. And we've seen how the technology companies have evolved over this last while, and the up and the down, and those that thrive and those that don't survive. And one of the things that's absolutely clear to me, that the human relational dimension of what we do is pivotal for success for the future.
But to challenge you on that, Anton, accountants are not known for their human people skills, are they? They are great at the technical stuff, the tax stuff, the number crunching stuff, and that empathy that you're talking about has traditionally been in short supply in the profession.
I think that may be fair looking back, but technical skills is a given.
Yeah.
That should be a given, and of the highest standards. But that's not enough for success.
Yeah.
And it's not enough for our client success. And with the volume of technological interaction and digital interaction, I believe our clients are looking for companions. Companions, people that walk with them, hear their heartbeat. I mean, the word audit comes from to hear. And it's all about your listening. And I really think firms and networks that don't grasp that one will miss what's coming down the track.
Yeah. Sure. Interesting times. Well, okay. Let's, any further thoughts on that before we finish with our last question? I don't want you coming off this saying, oh, I wish I'd have said that. That's why I'm asking, because these are quite contentious issues. Okay. Well, let's keep our eyes on the future. We have one foot in the now and one foot in the next. And Chris, let me come to you on this one. Magic wand. If you could change anything about the world we're in, your role, the accounting firms, accounting profession, let's say I turned you into Professor Dumbledore in Harry Potter's world at Hogwarts, or you had that magic to be able to change something, what might that be?
Well, I'm probably going to ruin everybody's day by mentioning the B word, but
Is that Brexit or something? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
My magic wand moment would be to cancel Brexit. Yeah.
We've not heard about Brexit in a while. COVID's put it on the back burner, hasn't it?
We didn't need it before, and we certainly don't need it now. Anyway, let me draw a line.
We moved on to the C word, from B word to C word.
True, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think for the profession, I think, and this is actually picking up on something that Anton just said now, I think the profession still needs to do a better job at explaining in layman's terms to everybody around the world exactly what we do, what the profession does, what value it adds to society. I would draw your attention, there's a very good report, which I think is about 8 years old now, from ACCA, called Closing the Value Gap. And this was all about the profession needs to explain, what it does, how it adds value, how it should engage itself at the front end of projects, not at the back end, how it needs to address the ethical issues that have arisen, the conflicts of interest, and it also needs to develop the soft skills that are so desperately needed for meaningful communication. Now, I think we've traveled quite a long way in the last 8 years since the report was written, but I don't think it's job done by a long way. And right now, I think that's really, really important that journey is completed.
Well, I'll take the magic wand off you and give it to Anna Catherine. What would you do if you could change anything?
Well, my wish for our profession goes a bit into the direction of what Anton was saying beforehand. It's a people business, and we need to be companions. And so I would be happy about a bit more heart than head. So more empathy, more soft skills to be applied. And I think COVID taught us that lesson, how important it actually is. And so in that sense,
So do we need to change the way accountants pass their exams, or are we recruiting a different breed of accountants now that are more empathetic?
That way.
Yeah.
Of course, we need our technical skills. I mean, that's what you need the head for.
Sure.
But to take care of your clients, that's what you need your heart for. Clients and team members.
Yeah.
So.
Michelle, what would be your wish with your magic wand or your genie in a bottle?
A genie in a bottle. I think I would wish for the profession to move faster on all these things we're all talking about, and to embrace the situation and to move rapidly through it.
It's moved pretty fast in the last few months, though, you must admit.
Yeah, for sure. I'm afraid it's going to stall.
Right.
So the right answer, or my magic wand would wish for it to continue to even accelerate the pace, so that all these opportunities of we're hearing a lot about hiring non-CPAs to fill financial planning roles and different roles in the firm that maybe a technical accountant isn't suited for. But those things to me just can't happen fast enough.
Anton, I dread giving you a magic wand. Is there a list of things, or are you thinking everything's perfect right now?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think my colleagues tonight have been brilliant. Today have been brilliant. Great insights there. But actually, what I want a wand for is not about what we do and the way we serve our clients. For me, it's about how we serve the world and our societies. I actually think, if I could change, I wish I could change our firm's ability to love the communities that they live in and those that they need, that we share of our success.
But they not do that in your eyes?
We do a lot, but we could do so much more. I mean, I loved Anne Catherine's image of the head and the heart. I mean, we've launched in our network this year a concept called Moor Heart. And we exemplify all the things that we try and the firms do well around the world. But I tell you, we're only scratching the surface. There's so much more that we could be doing for the world to change their perception of what we are as a profession. Not only do we lubricate and ensure the effectiveness of a global economy, we actually help improve humanity and human life as well.
Is that a wish, Anton, or is that actually possible? How would you go about that?
We're doing it. We are not going to stop. I mean, that is our future. If that is not the DNA of our network, we're just like everybody else.
Yeah. Michael Rice von Filski, if I gave you a magic wand, what would you change?
Well, first of all, since I'm a lawyer by training, I would go for 3 wishes and not just one.
Nicely negotiated.
Is the appetizer, and I think a very important one. I wish and I hope that this whole pandemic situation will come to an end, and those people who are suffering health-wise, those people who are helping those people who are suffering, that they have a bit of a relief, so that this sort of disappears with a vaccine or with however we can address it. That's the first thing. The second wish would be to make sure that the example our organizations, all our organizations are living, our member firms are living internally, but our organizations are transmitting of global cooperation, camaraderie, of exchanging views and ideas, and not only business, of helping each other, of sharing, that this becomes more visible on a global scale, that people understand that what we are doing has value, and it has not just value for accounting purposes, it has a value for a better understanding of different people across regions, across generations, across businesses, across religions, across nations, continents, so that this becomes more visible. And as Anton said, we're also living it. And I'm delighted that through these panel discussions, we can share it also with other people who might feel inclined to be part of it and to support that. And the third wish, very fast, is the reckoning. I do hope, and that's probably my very vindictive lawyer's part, that all those people who intentionally try to downplay problems had no heart for employees or for their firms, and willfully sort of benefited from destruction or obstruction, that they receive their fair stake by being either about having more challenges to find the suitable people for the businesses, or more challenges to find suitable voters. So that's the vindictive part, which is not very nice, but I think it's highly entertaining.
Thank you, Michael, for that. And I've just written down the word judgment. There will be a reckoning, I'm sure, because some accountants have not served their clients well in all of this. And just as I expand on these thoughts, can you all just be thinking of a few final words of encouragement or inspiration you would give to managing partners and leaders listening as we go forward with all this crazy stuff that's happening? But just to finish my point, that I said right at the beginning, when this COVID smoke clears and the fires go down and the dust settles, you need to be the one person that people remember. So what are you doing to serve your community, your clients, your own staff as a leader? How is this crisis bringing out the best in you? Because as you're hinting, Michael, it's not bringing out the best in some firms. They're not serving as well as they could be. So there may well be a reckoning, there may well be a judgment, and that may have financial implications. So thank you, everybody, for your insights today. This has been amazing. I'm just going to ask you for some closing remarks. And Michelle, I'll start with you, if I may. Just your final words of encouragement and advice or inspiration to the leaders listening and watching to send them on their way after this great discussion.
Sure. I would build on what you just said, actually, Rob, that to think about doing something of significance during this time, not just success, and to understand that the leadership you showed during COVID not only will help all of us get out of the financial crisis, but for many of us, it could be a career-defining moment. Our leadership during this time and the significance that was made, the people part, not just the success.
Yeah, very good. And Catherine, 60 seconds from you on words of inspiration. This is the time, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, I took a lot of inspiration from this round, and yeah, a lot of nice approaches. And well, I would say let's all be good companions in the future for our networks. And I think we're all in the same boat, and that's the most important thing, to be the ones that everybody is happy to have them as a support and helper.
That sounds great. Very inspiring. Michael, final words from you to the leaders watching and listening.
Well, I think it will all be well. And I'm
That's very reassuring.
I'm convinced it will all be well, because you see the different leaders of great organizations, networks, associations getting together. I think never before there has been such a vivid exchange between the leadership of different networks and associations. We are to a certain extent friends. We have an open dialogue, and I think if we transmit that throughout the world and people understand that the values we all stand for, I have no doubt that it will all be well.
It will all be well. Chris Robinson, final words of encouragement or advice from you to the leaders watching.
Yeah, well, I would say embrace the future, seek out the opportunities, capitalize on them. And picking up on Michelle's point, once this is all over, once we're through this immediate crisis, don't take your foot off the accelerator pedal. Keep going, because the world will start to rotate even more rapidly, and we all need to keep up. So yeah, that would be my message.
That's very good. As a mentor said to me once, a slower day is not coming.
Yeah.
Things are just going to get faster and more complex and more complicated and more crazy. So Anton, we've left the last word to you. So what profound words of inspiration and wisdom would you give to the leaders watching and listening?
I can't say it would be profound, but I mean, in the midst of this terrible human tragedy that history will write about, our great-great-grandchildren will talk about, for leaders of organizations, that's the distance between transformation of our businesses and where we are just now. I think the conditions are such, and I would just encourage managing partners to reach out and grab it. It's a great opportunity here, and I think we're able to change in ways we never conceived of being able to change in the past. And let's be honest, this isn't all about what we do, it's who we are. Culture will be strategy transformation every day of the week here to guarantee our future. And I think cultural change, COVID has given us the opportunity to do that, as well as change how we do our business.
That's tremendous. And they say, just in closing, to never waste a crisis. And there are so many, amidst the adversity, so many opportunities being presented here for a profession that is so much needed to really make a difference in the world. So I want to thank you all for playing nicely, for being so insightful, and really sharing your heart on what have been some excellent answers. And you've been so collaborative together. You've been companions to me and companions to one another. So I'm going to keep the Zoom room open for a few more minutes if you want to stay and hang out. But I appreciate that, being the busy leaders that you are, you've probably got another Zoom call in a few more minutes to talk and help the world. So just stay safe, keep on serving, and keep on making a difference, because you are the leader of leaders. Thank you so much for your contributions today.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye now.